tell you, short, sharp, and to the point. And then comes Richard from South Shields. Hiya, Richard.
Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Are you going to start spending your money, mate?
What do you mean?
Well, on the 6th of the 6th, 06, I reckon it's Armageddon.
Who reckons it's Armageddon?
Well, Nostradamus.
Nostradamus is dead, so he cannot suggest anything, can he?
Alright. Well, they reckon that the Earth's going to blow up in supernova on the 6th of the 6th, 06.
Okay, then.
And I turn around and I says, well, hang on, folks. And do you know what happened? I was just onto that one, like. And do you know what they turned around and they said?
When you say it, do you know what who are the?
Oh, the people.
Who are the people?
Well, the aliens.
They're aliens, so they're not people.
No, well, the aliens are going to save our lives.
That's what you're banking on, is it?
Well, no.
The aliens we've never seen are going to save our life.
Well, if they were nasty, they would have killed me already, wouldn't they?
Well, that's if they're there. Maybe they're several million miles away.
Well, get in touch with these ghosts.
Get in touch with these ghosts to achieve what?
Well, I didn't, but, like, the way I look at Nostradamus, right? He was a newsreader, right? That used to write things down, and he was visited by time travelers.
How do you know this?
Well, if that's the case, right, and he's
whoa. Answer the question. Answer the question. You say he was visited by time travellers when in no book anywhere is that written. So where did you get that from?
Well, I'm not bothered. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you obviously are bothered because you've just made that up.
No, I haven't, man. No, like, it's all of these things that or like, well, he was visited by time travellers, that's all he was.
When?
Nostradamus.
When?
Because he was just a person that wrote the book about all the people that visited him, like, time traveller,
that's not all
to see Nostradamus.
You don't even know
the story about what they had turned on and he said.
You don't even know who Nostradamus was, do you? Yes, you're creating this story about he was visited by time. You don't even know what he was. You think he was a book writer.
I know, but you asked yourself a question, right, Alan?
Well, you're coming on to talk about Nostradamus. Know what you're talking about. Who was he? What did he do?
Well, ask God.
He's God.
No, well, you ask God.
Now, I'm asking you, because you come on to talk about Nostradamus, so let's talk about Nostradamus. Tell me who he was.
No, you're asking me. I'm not God. But if you ask God, God will tell you who Nostradamus is and was.
You're talking about Nostradamus, so tell me who Nostradamus was.
I'm not good enough.
Well, hang on, you're telling me what Nostradamus did. By not reading what Nostradamus did, by not reading about who even he was, but by making it up. Why?
Well, why would they make that up?
Well, you just have made it up. You just said he was visited by time travellers.
No, that's what he says in his book. He says that there was going to be all these things like Hitler and...
Have you read his book?
And stuff. And the 606 was going to be Armageddon,
Have you read his book? Or have you just read a snippet out of a newspaper where somebody's interpreting it to suit themselves? Have you read his book?
Well, I have.
What's it called, then?
It's called the Book of Nostradamus.
No, what's it called? The book that his prophecies are in?
The prophecies are in, that's it.
And what's the book called?
The Book of Nostradamus.
Well, it's not, because that's not his language.
It's the same as the Bible. It's called the Bible. But it's not called the Book of Mormon, is it? It's exactly the same thing. The only difference being is the New Testament of the Book of Mormon is the Bible.
It actually isn't.
Well, God must exist because they wrote the Bible about God, didn't they?
Did they?
Well, yeah.
Who are they?
Well, the people, that wrote the Bible.
Who wrote the Bible?
Well, it's the same as the Last Supper.
Who wrote the Bible?
The Da Vinci bloke.
Who wrote the Bible? Hey, you keep coming on here talking bilge. Tell me where you make... First of all, tell me why you want to make stuff up. And secondly, why do you always talk about things that it's patently obvious you don't know anything about?
Well, whoever wrote the Bible must have been the same person who wrote the Book of Nostradamus, wasn't it, Bay?
No.
Well, not because he was later than the Bible, buddy. You know when Nostradamus was born?
Of course I do, but do you?
Well, if he was born and he knew about all of them things, right?
Well, when was he born?
Well, you know when he was born.
When was he born? You're talking about him, not me. You're talking about him, so tell me what you know about Nostradamus, because so far you've just told lies about him that you've created in your own head to try and make you look as if you know what you're talking about, and you don't.
So how comes all of these people know what the War of the Worlds was like?
Well, that's a book.
Well, it's the same thing.
It's a book of fiction.
Fiction?
Yeah.
So you're saying Nostradamus is fiction, not fact?
I'm saying that he did write a book that was designed to dazzle, because he didn't write it clearly. He wrote it in 3 languages all mixed up.
Right.
And he did that on purpose.
Well, on the question, right, who wants to be a millionaire? You ask all of these questions, Alan, but I don't know the answers.
So why do you come on talking about things you don't know anything about? Because you could come on and talk about something that you do know something about, and therefore people will listen to you.
I want to know why everybody thinks that. That's what Nostradamus said.
Well, because that's what Nostradamus planned. He planned to be deceptive and to do something that was a little bit bizarre. He was the Russell Grant of his day.
Oh, no?
That was all, but do we listen to Russell Grant?
No, because astrology is not very good for Christians and the Christian belief.
Why?
You're not supposed to believe in astrology. It's the same as gambling. It's a sin.
Right.
So, like, I mean, dates about things like that's not fair, is it? But why is it all mumble-jumbled up anyway?
Well, I've just explained that, because that's what astrologers do. It's like an astrologer will tell you 30 things. One of those 30 things comes true, and you think the astrology's true and it's all believable. Well, it isn't. They're just throwing out as much as they can, hoping that something sticks.
They have things like the Sunday is the day of rest. You're not supposed to do now, right? And you've got things like all of these other stuff.
Well, you see, that's only Christians.
But why is all of these religions all believing in one thing?
Well, they're not.
Well,
Jewish people don't believe what Christians believe. Hindus don't. Buddhists don't. Muslims don't. They're all different. Chinese faiths is half a dozen.
But Nostradamus is known to every human
No, he's
race.
not. No, he's not. It's just known in the West.
In the West?
Yeah.
No. Well, I don't think that's fair, like. I've spoken to all of the people from all over the place, and Nostradamus is known like Michael Jackson. Everybody knows who Michael Jackson is, and they all know who Nostradamus is. It's like God or Leonardo
How many
da Vinci.
Chinese people in China have you spoken to ask whether they know who Nostradamus is? Don't be daft.
Leonardo da Vinci is known by everybody. It's like history lessons. You go
into Africa, you go into South America, and you go into Asia, and you will find loads of people that haven't heard any of them.
Only if they're babies, or like 5-year-old or something.
Not at all. I mean, there's a whole host of countries that haven't got television or radio. So how are they going to know? They don't go to the cinema, they don't have television, they don't buy newspapers. How are they going to know who these people?
Who God is?
Who God is? I don't know who God is. Who's God?
Well, I don't know.
Well, you don't know who God is.
Well, everybody prays to God, don't they?
Not everybody.
Well, like, I have me dinner, right? And I ask for the thankness about what I'm going to get, like, and all that, right? And, like the bird song in the morning has broken. Well, it's all right, like. There's nothing wrong with that, is there?
But if that's what makes you happy, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
It doesn't actually make us happy. It makes everything go right.
Well, obviously not. But you see, what I don't understand is why you talk about sin. Do you not think lying, even if it's lying to yourself, is wrong?
No, panic is not lying. And we don't panic. I don't panic.
No, but you lie.
Well, how do I lie?
Well, you've lied half a dozen times here. You've been telling me that you know this and you know that, and as soon as I question you, you don't know anything about it. Well, that's lying, isn't it?
Well, what about deja vus?
Well, you're going back around there again to subjects that, you still don't know anything about, and to be honest, I've got better things to do. But thanks for calling. 01914 488 3188. You know what would make the world a difference? Is if Richard, instead of trying to appear clever, which of course he doesn't, if he just spoke from the heart about something that he genuinely knew something about, Now, for those of you that are, and I know he says that you all know who Nostradamus is. Nostradamus was a doctor, essentially. He was a physician in the court of Catherine de Medici, if that means anything at all to you. Charles the, can't remember which Charles it was, 8, 9, 10, it was somewhere up there. And he put together a number of books, and the prophecies were in a book called Centuries, and it was written in the 1550s. And essentially he wrote it in 3 languages, but he was an astrologer, and he always made his prophecies really complicated, where he'd started in one language, then the middle bit would be in another language, the third bit would be in another language, so that nobody could make head nor hair of them, which just made them strangely fascinating in a weird sort of way. But essentially, people keep saying in the newspapers, oh, he refers to jet airplanes and Hitler and Napoleon, and he never mentions any of them in any of his prophecies. Instead, his prophecy, for those that have read them, and I don't know whether you have, his prophecies are, and again, first of all, you got to remember that they're being interpreted from 3 separate languages. So how accurate the actual translation has been, I think, is probably way out. But the translation goes, and the red rose meets the eagle on the field of rye. And then from that, somebody will say, that's the Battle of Creasy. And you think, how do you get that? Just people making it up. 0191488.